Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Midas Letter RAW. I'm here with my good friend and co-host Edward Molesky. Ed, how's it going?
It's going fine, James. Thanks
Excellent.
for asking.
Yes, you're not traveling anymore.
No, not travel. Well, I've traveled here today.
Yeah, well, that's a bit of a trip.
Travel.
Though you did make it in record time.
You know, there was very little traffic. I don't think I got under 100 clicks. It was smooth.
Smooth sailing.
About an hour and 20 minutes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. If, for those of you who don't know, we've moved the Midas Letter Center of the Economic Universe out to a little hamlet called Dunnville, Ontario.
Yeah, very bucolic setting.
Very bucolic setting. And so today we've got an interesting show in that we've got no psychedelics today. No psychedelics, but we have a couple of guests who are going to make you want to eat psychedelics because Wonder Technologies Inc., or WonderFi, is one of the newest companies to take the stage who is specializing in decentralized finance, or DeFi. And the CEO, Ben Samaru, is here today to explain how that's going. And we get into a bit of a tete-a-tete, head-to-head, shoulder-to-shoulder, bit of a debate about...
A bit of a rugby scrum.
A bit of a scrum, yes. Good one.
Okay.
And so the really interesting thing about Wonder Technologies is this company has come from nowhere and just closed a bought deal, 26 million plus, at $1.90 a share, I believe it was. And so it's just like, mind you, they have Kevin O'Leary as one of their spokesmen. They have Josh Richards, who is a YouTuber / TikToker with like 40 million followers. Have you ever heard of Josh Richards? Apparently he's some kid who's just like dances in front of the camera, and apparently he's going to be part of the reason that people are buying Wonder Technologies. But yeah, so great influencer campaign.
Kevin's all over the place too. Kevin O'Leary, he's
got his fingers in a lot of pies lately.
Wow.
Yes, he does.
Okay.
Also today we have Craig Nickel is going to join us. He's the CEO of Graphene Manufacturing Group, trades on TSX Venture under the symbol GMG. I'm a shareholder. And they
had a big announcement last week.
They had two big announcements.
Yeah.
And they're kind of confusing because they were two right back to back. One day they announced that they were doing a deal with Bosch to...
That's the big German company.
Big German engineering firm. That is going to be their engineering, procurement, and manufacturing company for their commercial plant. But then the next day they announced that they had made some moves towards putting their pilot plant on the map, new real estate, new everything. And so it's like...
Two plants.
So this company's moving forward very quickly. Don't forget, it was less than a year ago that they announced that they were going to start developing a graphene aluminum battery that has no cobalt, no nickel.
Does it have aluminum?
No, well, obviously. You almost got me there.
Oh, gotcha. No, you know what? But that company, and I've been watching it because of your involvement, and they've got some traction. Like, it's not one of these, up and down.
No.
Like a turnaround. It's looking like they're moving forward.
Yeah. Well, it shot up by like...
It hasn't breached its old high, though. I think their old high was around $4, and it got to about, what, 360?
350.
Okay.
Touched a high of 350.
That's what you want to see. You want to see some...
Yeah, absolutely. We'll look at a chart on that later.
Okay.
Also today, we're going to talk a bit about our old friend, Dr. Copper, because Copper's been taking it on the chin this week. And what else we got? We got... we're going to talk a bit about Tesla and the incredible...
The meteoric...
$1 trillion company now. Tesla.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the Biden's stalled infrastructure
there
project.
Seem to be, and I see now, there's some of the promises looks like aren't going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? Darn. Politicians, they were wrong.
Yes.
They said something.
Yes. And we're going to talk briefly about our two sponsors, Voxtur Analytics, trading on TSX Venture under VXTR, real estate at the speed of light. These guys are digitizing the entire real estate transactional landscape. And NuRAN Wireless, a company that is deploying wireless solutions throughout communities where they don't have wireless, and they've got deals coming together like crazy. And they put out a press release this week that indicates that they are actually getting financed by local banks to build all these sites, which is like, that means they don't need to raise money from capital markets to build their dreams, which is a real positive for investors. This company only has 30 million shares out, but we'll look at that chart as well.
Yeah,
and then
they're based in Africa.
Well, they're based in Montreal, but their operations are in Cameroon and the DRC predominantly, but they have opportunities in Latin America coming together as well.
Okay.
So the company altogether has potential to deploy like up to 5,000 different cell tower sites. And they predict their economics are based on a prediction of 25% subscriber penetration per site. And they've been averaging, in retrospect, better than 40%. So it's a good-looking company now. This company rolled back 15 for 1. So it is tight. You would think there's no sellers, but it's having a hard time getting beyond $1.70.
Well,
and we have an option on this company for 250,000 shares at $1.70. And that is by way of disclosure. So we are conflicted on, when we talk about NuRAN Wireless, we are conflicted when we talk about Voxtur. We're conflicted when we talk about GMG. We're conflicted because I own shares in that.
Yeah.
When we talk about US Copper, we're conflicted because we both have shares in that.
Yeah.
If you're enjoying the show, subscribe to Midas Letter on YouTube so you stay up to date on everything investment. Let's go quickly through the questions from the audience. JD said, great to learn about thorium and fusion energy in the last show. Are there any companies you like in this alternative energy space?
Well, I can't answer that one because I don't know.
JD, I'm going to tell you something. There aren't that many thorium companies. There are no thorium mining companies that are publicly traded in Canada that I know of. And I'll tell you what, having been to the thorium hyperbole ball game a couple of times, all of the thorium mining companies that I've been peripheral to over the last 30 years have all turned out to be a little bit smelly.
Stinky?
Stinky, yeah. They all go out on huge promotions and they turn out to be pumperdoodles. Yeah. So I don't know of any, and I would caution you that thorium is probably not something in the junior company realm to invest in anytime soon.
Are there any pure thorium plays on the TSX Venture, for instance?
Not that I know of.
Yeah, well, that's surprising to me.
I Googled that and nothing came up.
So maybe there's no thorium.
The last company was called Thorium Power at thoriumpower.com. Their website is defunct and the company's gone. So there you have it. Okay, Make It Cold wants to know, does GMG hold any patent rights on the aluminum ion batteries design, or is this a joint venture with the university? Make It Cold, GMG has a licensing agreement with the University of Queensland. The University of Queensland controls all of the IP around the aluminum ion battery. Aluminum graphene battery is my understanding, though I'm not 100% certain about that, but that is my impression. Franken Studio wants to know, what is the difference between WonderFi and Coinbase? Okay, well, WonderFi Technologies is a decentralized finance platform that basically presents itself as a banking type of institution as well as an investment platform, whereas Coinbase is first and foremost primarily a crypto exchange where you can trade in all of the cryptocurrencies, and secondarily might be adopting some decentralized finance technologies as it evolves. And that's basically the difference at this point. Mind you, in the decentralized finance space, things are moving so quickly that I wouldn't be surprised if WonderFi ended up having a crypto exchange as part of its offering, and I wouldn't be surprised if Coinbase started offering everything WonderFi did within weeks. Like, that's just the way these things are going. Mr. White wants to know, what do you think of Trump and his SPAC Digital World acquisition after its 845% rally in 2 days? What do you think, Ed?
It's come back quite a bit. It got up to about $150 on a spike.
Yeah.
And I saw it trading yesterday at $60 odd.
Yeah.
Now, this is very interesting because as soon as Trump got his name attached to it, this thing took off like a bat out of hell.
Well, why are weed stocks still in the dumps even though the Banking Act has passed? Because it hasn't become law yet.
Yeah, but the other thing is, now you can value weed stocks based on some metrics. For instance, they're in business, so you can see the revenues. Are they making money? When it's still conceptual, things go crazy. And we talked about this on the show 2 years ago or 3 years ago when it went legal, that maybe the good time to sell your weed stocks is the day it went legal.
Yeah.
Anyway, and that proved out to be the case.
True.
Okay.
Bottom line is, why are weed stocks still in the dumps? Because there's more sellers than buyers.
and there's weed stock. You can buy. You go every block in Toronto now has got a weed thing.
Well, the sell-off is still on in the sector because it's been on for so long. I think that the passage of the Safe Banking Act is a step in the right direction, but it's not definitive enough. Yeah. It's not going to be meaningful to the bottom lines of cannabis companies, so therefore it hasn't had that much of an effect.
Remember the day Tilray shot up and shot up and shot up, and it was a short squeeze.
Oh,
it was $3.50 a share. It's $10 now.
Malarkey.
10.
Malarkey. Josh Moynihan wants to know, do you put your money where your mouth is in these interviews?
Who's got money?
Yeah, what money?
What are you talking about?
Who has money? Well, Josh, let's see. In today's interviews, I have a position in GMG, and I bought the stock 2 years ago.
You bought USCU?
I've got $750,000, probably almost 1 million shares in exposure to U.S. copper. I bought $100,000 worth of Voxtur. I have sold a little bit to cover some of the freight in this great show, but I still have the majority of my position in an option and still some Voxtur shares. What else? NuRAN Wireless. We haven't actually put any of our money into that because we have an option on it.
Yeah.
And it was $1.60 a share. So I'm kind of like a buy low, sell high kind of guy. So it's early for me in that to put money in. And we put our money where our mouth is in a lot of our interviews, but I would say most of the companies we interview, we don't have an interest in. Probably 85% of the companies we don't have an interest in.
Every company out there is a potential interview.
Yes.
And so are we going to invest in every company?
No. If you like the show, you'll love our website. Visit us at www.midasletter.com for interviews with key CEOs, cannabis news, and to subscribe to our newsletter. All right, here's Craig Nickel from Graphene Manufacturing Group. Craig Nickel is back. He's the founder and CEO of Graphene Manufacturing Group, trades on the TSX Venture under the symbol GMG, and trades in the United States under the symbol GMGMF. Craig, welcome back.
Hi, James. Good to be back. Thank you for having me.
It's fantastic to have you as usual, Craig. You put out 2 amazing back-to-back press releases over the last couple of days, and in fact, there were 3 gems in there, and they're exciting as a shareholder for a number of reasons, but first, let's start with the one of October the 25th, where you announced that GMG and Bosch had signed a collaborative agreement for Bosch to design and deliver GMG's graphene aluminum ion battery manufacturing plant. Now, my first question for you in that regard is this plant is not the pilot plant. This is for the commercial production plant.
That's right, yeah. So the pilot plant, we've effectively got everything arrived, and it's been delayed a bit because we wanted to put it into the new headquarters, which we just signed the lease for. So that should be another couple of weeks out. We'll have that up and running. So this deal we've done with Bosch is very exciting because it sets us up for the next phase. It's the execution capability, which we either needed to do in-house, do it through a consortium of different companies, or very, very uniquely position Bosch to be able to build and actually put together and install and effectively commission through operation a brand new battery manufacturing facility. So we're very, very excited, and it is that next stage. So we'll take everything we learned from the pilot plant, give that to Bosch, and then working with Bosch, they'll come back with a plant, build it for us, and give that back to us for us to operate and obviously own and expand.
So this production facility is going to produce the batteries that you developed successfully in the pilot plant.
That's correct, yes.
So then today you put out the press release that you had actually moved forward and commenced construction of the pilot plant. So this all seems to be moving very quickly now. Whereas, this is earlier this year, it was just announced, and now you're already moving to construct the pilot plant, and you've already got a deal to build the commercial production plant with a global powerhouse of technology production. So I'm curious as to, does this mean you're going to start producing batteries at the pilot plant tomorrow?
Well, we're definitely hoping to put batteries out into the market at a commercial scale. Hopefully sometime next year. There's a lot of things that have got to come through, but the pilot plant will definitely be up and running in the very near future. We're talking weeks, not even months. We've also got our pilot plant at University of Queensland. So you've got multiple pilot plants. It's a bit hard to understand, but we're making batteries already at UQ. We're doing a lot of testing and development, and we're working through getting our prototype ready by the end of the year, and we feel quite comfortable with that. And that's just with these little watch batteries, these coin cell batteries. And then now we've got our pilot plant happening, so we'll do even more work there. And that just gets us to understand and perfect this particular type of new battery, because it's a completely new way of making a battery just out of carbon and aluminium. And then we'll hand all that over, and then Bosch will come back and deliver us a new factory, which will then hopefully be able to operate next year and sell into the market. So it's utilizing a lot of existing technologies, except the nanochemistry that we have makes this a really special battery and kind of top performing battery, which is why, again, we're so excited, because it has so many levers and so many opportunities.
Sure. So then people listen to, I've had a couple of conversations, people say, well, coin cell batteries, what uses coin cell batteries? What uses pouch cell batteries? People don't understand that these are just industry jargon for the batteries that power absolutely all of our personal devices. And so, agreed and accepted that you could make a Fortune 500 company just out of making coin cell batteries for one small part of the market. But questions linger. How soon have you started to do any experimentation with larger application batteries like for automobiles?
Yeah, so that links us into the third announcement, which is around building our pilot plant battery for pouch packs. Now, this means, we think by the end of the year, very early next year, we'll start to be making pouch packs. So that means we'll have a coin cell and a pouch pack. And now the pouch pack is what's sitting in your phone and your laptops. But what's great about our battery is that can also go into cars, that can also go into grid and house batteries. So that pouch pack is very versatile. It'll be, a square or rectangle, and it'll be able to be working in many different applications that, including EVs, because it's such a, next gen battery. It has many different applications, and that pouch pack will be able to do that. You'll just put many of them in to do a certain task that you want. So the round ones that we're all familiar with that you see in the Teslas, the 18650s and the other ones that are coming out, they are predominantly designed around removing heat out of the battery. And we in an aluminium ion battery, you don't really have that problem. So we likely won't be going with a round one. We'll just have square, rectangle, and you can put that in pretty much anything you want.
Mm-hmm. Elon Musk is investing a lot in battery manufacturing around the world. Is he aware of what GMG is up to?
Look, I think it's for him to kind of work through what he's doing. He's obviously at massive scale, the largest scale there is, and we're at the other end. We're just starting out. So, he's already done some amazing things and been obviously a cause of a lot of this, arguably, this transition. I think where we're going right now is just making sure that we can get chemistry right. Some very big prospective customers and companies are watching us very closely, some under very intense NDAs. And if we get the nanochemistry right, we can then put that into pouch packs, which then can go into anything. And then you have a very low cost, high performing battery, which can be reused and recycled, and very low cost to the environment as well, with no lithium. So we just got to move through these next few months, and we're very excited in the company because there's a lot of things going on. We've got a new headquarters, which we're going to bring everything together, put the pilot plant in. We'll be able to bring some good images of that when it's all put together, and we'll be able to show what it looks like. These things aren't big; they're not very costly, but they're huge IP, massive nanotechnology, intellectual property. And when you have that, you can push things faster because you're using existing equipment, but in new ways. So it's very exciting, James.
Sure. So has all of this battery progress put the liquid graphene applications for various components on the back burner, or are those stats still moving forward as well?
No, we've split the teams. So we split the business into two teams. One team's out there pushing the revenue for air conditioning coating systems, and also to some extent graphene lubricants, but it's just finding its way through, which is good in a lot of different customer interactions. And then the other team is battery delivery. So two very different types of projects, but they all revolve around our ability to make fantastic graphene at low cost, and also spread the risk for our company around revenues, cost profiles, revenue profiles. So TXR is our air conditioning coating system for saving energy in existing air conditioners. We're really focused in the Middle East. We have our lead technician over in Dubai in the Middle East, helping our partner over there, Openia, go through some more proof of delivery of demonstrations. It's a massive opportunity for them and for us, and also for, quite frankly, the Middle East, for Dubai. Most hotel rooms have two air conditioners that just are always on, or they're cycling to make sure they don't one fall over the other. So there's enormous heavy capital and operational cost to keep their living in cool temperatures, and hopefully we can do some really big changes on reducing their emissions and energy consumption costs around that. And we're still adamant that is a huge opportunity for us, and we're putting a lot of effort and team time into making that happen. So that's certainly not in any way, the battery team is certainly in its own space, a very technical space, and the sales and marketing on our TXR is also very much pushing through as well. And we obviously would love to come out with some news on that, and when it does break, it will be the first of its kind, and we'll be very happy to get there. We're creating a new market there. That's what that's all about. Whereas the battery market is you're going into existing markets, existing technologies. It's swapping out, and it's a technical project. So two very good things to be running in parallel, in my opinion.
Sure. Are there any other emerging battery technologies that might be considered an improvement on the requirement for metals like lithium, like nickel, like cobalt? Are there any other technologies like that out there that you're kind of looking at and wondering if they might represent a bit of a threat competitively?
Yeah, I think it's difficult to find one that doesn't have lithium. That's where it sits. Pretty much all of the competitors that the market's so big. Honestly, it's almost not a competitor. But if you say, okay, what are the competing technologies from a technology point of view? They're almost all lithium. You're just adding different elements to them to make it slightly more safe or more green. But it's fundamentally a lithium product battery. The other batteries out there, other technologies like your sodium ion, potassium ion, are generally much bigger type batteries, and they probably won't go where we're going to go, which is in personal electronics up front. You have your zinc and aluminium airs, but they are very different types of technologies, not like ours, which ours is swappable. So they also won't be able to come in with, in any areas that we're going to go into in personal electronics. Then you're really looking at something like the flow batteries, which are big pump flowing, that vanadium flow or iron flow. And they're, again, not in this space. So we're quite unique. We're really just focused on, if anything, competing against a lithium type of technology with maybe some advanced chemistry. But the lithium batteries have their problems. So that's why we can come in and just be a complete new fresh face and have all of the performance benefits. To be really clear, I don't think there's anything out there that has the charging capability of our battery. That's the thing that will knock it out of the park on pretty much any other battery comparative. Ours charges so fast and discharges so fast that I don't think there's any technology out there that's anywhere close, except for potentially a supercapacitor, which does not operate like a battery at all, and it just comes in and out, in and out. So, in some areas where there's just nothing like us at all, in other areas where we're brushing up shoulder to shoulder, but then they're all lithium. And that's why we're quite a unique beast. That's why we've been told by some of the biggest companies in the world, we are leading the space in the world. And that's when you get to be able to do partnerships like this partnership with Bosch. It's a $500 billion company operating and manufacturing in 190 countries around the world, including Australia, where they've been manufacturing for more than 50 years and helping companies like ours for 50 years build leading automated production lines. They're in this because they can see there's a potential for this as well.
Right. Okay, so then there is also a range of other applications for your graphene, including fuel additives, construction material additives to create a fire prevention coefficient. How are all of those moving along?
There's a raft of other products that we could go into, and we would need to go and hire probably some other people to come in and really push them out. And right now, the team is fully occupied, and I don't really want to increase overheads to go and chase another product. We do occasionally have universities who bring to us new interesting products, that opportunities are new next generation type opportunities, but we tend to just provide them graphene only. And so we do occasionally one of those ever and again, and we just recently did one providing graphene into a supercapacitor, which is charged with our graphene inside your body. And it's, as you move the body, it actually charges the battery. So then it can charge whatever you need, your cochlear implant, your heart pacemaker. So there are projects like that come along and go, oh, that's interesting, I'll support that with some graphene.
All right, Craig, well, that's a fantastic update. Congratulations on everything. You're doing a fantastic job. I couldn't be happier as a shareholder, and I hope to catch up with you soon in the next press release.
Great. Thanks for that, James. Appreciate it. Catch you again.
Thanks for your time. Bye for now. So they've got all this going on. That share price rocked up there on, traded like a few million shares.
So what was it back in right at the bottom?
Well, it touched a low back here. Well, it got down to $1.78.
Yeah. And now we're at around $3.
Yeah, but this is this is
when the news came out about Bosch, right?
Yeah.
4 days after your line there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So now it's selling off a bit, which is good, because if we were to add
not that many shares in this either, are there?
No, actually. And so there it is, trading outside of the B band. Now it's back inside the B band.
Yeah.
And to coincide with that, another favorite technical indicator of ours is the RSI.
RSI, yeah.
Anyway, so the relative strength index is, now it looks like it's a good time to get back in, because it's...
You know what? It may take maybe a while before some major news comes again, but, don't buy something that's gone through the band, although Tesla might be a...
Well, here's the thing. I look at those two press releases, and you would think, well, if I had those two great press releases, I wouldn't put them out one day, one, next day, another one. I would put one out one week, one. Yeah.
You know, like.
So that makes me wonder if there's more great news in the pipeline.
Maybe they thought, well, let's take the two worst ones we have.
Yeah.
Put them up now and save the real big and juicy ones.
Shake out all the non-believers at $3 before it goes to, that wouldn't be the first time that's happened. You know. So, there you have it. So, this is a company that you got to keep your eye on. This is one of my top picks for 2022, going into 2022. Yeah. This is a company that could blow all expectations out of the water because if they start producing
they'll get taken out.
Yeah. What people don't understand is they say pouch cell battery and people are like, wow, that's nothing, a pouch cell battery. But you know that the Tesla batteries are basically made out of hundreds and hundreds of pouch cell battery cells within a larger battery setting. So it's like they don't make one giant battery. They make a bunch of tiny batteries and put them all together.
Right.
So that is a lot more significant than people might appreciate. Now, I wanted to talk a bit about, on the heels of this, so Graphene Manufacturing Group, their marquee product is obviously this new aluminum graphene battery. So let's take a look at a company that is tangentially in the sector, and we're talking Tesla here, who set all-time record high this week after Hertz Rental Cars announced an order for 100,000 Teslas.
That was a $4.5 billion, and apparently, according to CNBC, they said that they never got a fleet discount on the purchase.
Really?
They basically paid full lolly.
Really? Full pop?
Like, in other words...
Boy, that Elon. He's not going to get a discount out of him.
Did you see what he tweeted? He tweeted wild times T with a dollar sign in front of the T, and the I, he made it a 1. MES. In other words, that was sort of a double entendre for 1 trillion. Dollar sign, T1, MES.
That's a little too clever for me.
Tricky.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I don't want to throw too much at you.
That's over my head. Anyway, so Tesla.
Yeah.
Now, but here's my point. Okay, so if, for example, Graphene Manufacturing Group were to start producing batteries for not necessarily Tesla, but for a major automotive manufacturer, that could put Graphene Manufacturing Group into the stratosphere. Now, don't forget, we're conflicted when we talk about this company because we own shares in it. And shares at quite a bit cheaper than what they're trading at. So we're in the money.
Two points I want to make on this topic.
All right.
They said that Elon Musk has made more money on paper in 9 months than Warren Buffett has made in 90 years.
Wow.
Now, that just gives you an idea. Like, this is a $100 billion increase in a company, $100 billion in the value of Tesla since they came up with that Hertz announcement.
Right.
I would like to know how many times a company has increased in value $100 billion. Which, has Apple ever done it? Maybe. It's a $2.5 trillion company. Has Microsoft done it? But after that, there could be... How many companies...
Well, but it's important to take a step back and understand that the valuation of these companies is a result of financial engineering by the Federal Reserve and central banks around the world.
Yes.
These companies can only be valued at this level if they keep printing money.
That's true.
If the inventory of money was the same as it was in 1995, this couldn't happen. So all of this is largely imaginary.
But how many people know that? How many people know that it's a direct function of the printing press?
I don't think too many people really appreciate that. I don't think too many people look past the stock chart and go, well, it's up, and that's all I care about.
It's interesting that when the money supply is up 5 times in 10 years, interesting that the NASDAQ's up 5 times in 10 years.
Right.
It's a direct correlation.
There's no choice but for stocks in the U.S. to go higher. Exactly. Well, we are in a hyperinflationary breakdown right now.
Isn't it?
Commodities prices.
Jeez.
So this is my point. This chart, Tesla has gone up in value by 10x over the last 2 years, right? So why is copper, when each one of these cars has 80 pounds of copper in it?
4 times more than a
conventional automobile.
Yeah.
So why is copper sitting here sucking hind tit?
Okay, but you know what?
Look at this.
I want to make a point here, okay?
Make a point.
So if you draw the copper peaked in May.
Yeah.
At 487.
Yeah.
you draw a line, and there was a downtrend, and all the way down to about 2 weeks ago when copper blasted off from about 420.
Yeah.
We're there up to about 475.
459. 461, right? Was 462.
No, higher.
Nope, this is only 462.
There. I'm talking about over there.
Oh, over here.
Yeah.
Over up here, so 482.
There's a trend line, like that trend was breached here.
Yes.
And that line has not been breached to the downside yet. So we're right about a nickel or 7 cents above that. That used to be a line of resistance. Now it's a line of support.
So this line.
Yeah, it's actually that line.
Okay.
We got to move it over.
This line?
Yeah. From the top of that thing, touch those two lines together. Yeah, there. Well, something like that.
Except this is upside down.
You got to, I would move it differently. Point is this: we breached the line. We're now quite a bit higher than all this congestion in here.
Yeah.
So even though we say copper's acting like shit, it ain't acting like that much shit.
Let's talk about what are the downward pressures on copper. Biden's $4.5 trillion
there you go. There's a nice trend.
Infrastructure bill has been reduced to now 1.5 trillion. So there's some demand for copper, some theoretical future demand for copper off the table. China is suffering a bit of an implosion in its housing sector.
Big time.
And by extension in the financial sector, which implies that China might be going into a bit of a recession, which obviously has negative implications for the demand on copper. So that could explain it. But to me, the fact that this is the new range, even with these headwinds for copper, to me is indicative that this is nothing more or less than mere consolidation and a pause before this thing goes much higher.
Unlike everything else, I mean, you can drill a few holes and get some more oil or natural gas.
Yeah.
You can't drill some holes and get copper to come out of the ground.
No.
It's a different kettle of fish.
Different kettle of fish altogether. So like our favorite copper company here, I'm just going to switch quickly and we'll talk about US Copper because this is where, you can catch a falling knife. So US Copper, Ed and I are both shareholders, so we're conflicted. But I haven't sold any shares in all this time frame because I'm waiting for the bottom in here because I think I'm going to be able to maybe pick up shares at 5 cents. So they did a financing at 5 cents not too long ago.
20 cents not too long ago. The last one was done at 20.
Right, but they did a big financing at 5 cents with a full warrant. So this is the thing: is that are these guys going to do another financing at 5 cents, and is that where it's going? Because I think
$2.5 million in the bank.
Smart money is looking at this and going, well, you did that financing at 5 cents back here, so why should I buy it here when I can see it's going back to here? Which is what I'm thinking. So this is why,
I don't want to see it go any lower. I think we got to be right. Put up a 10-year chart.
I think it's going to 5 cents.
Let's put up a 10-year chart just quickly.
10-year chart of U.S. copper?
Yeah, just do that. See, this is just starting to get going. Like this is like showing that people are. We need copper at over $5, and I think maybe it'll come to light.
Well, yeah, this is looking at now these bars are 1 month durations.
Yes.
So when you look at that, we definitely have. The start of a new trend here.
Yeah.
Capitulation here.
Yeah.
And when this phase ends, we know that the China situation will be resolved. They're either going to write off all those big things and
print more money.
And print more money, I would say. And also we're going to get some kind of a fiscal package through the US political machine at some point. And when those questions are resolved, I think that copper is going to take off again. I think U.S. copper could go to 5 cents in that time frame, but that's going to be a good time for me to average down. And hopefully management won't take more money from the likes of people who are going to take the money off the table if they see a double. Who can blame them?
There's 2 holes that haven't been released, which will be out, I think, in a couple weeks.
Well, okay. No point in releasing drill results in this kind of a trend. That just makes a liquidity event a selling opportunity. You want to release holes when you're seeing this stuff.
Yeah.
Anyways, the question is, how are you going to see any more of this after this thing demonstrates such a negative correlation to copper when copper goes negative, and the lack of a positive correlation when copper is running? So that's just the point is like, here I am telling you why you shouldn't buy U.S. copper when I have a million shares of this shit.
You're telling people, sell your U.S. copper now at 10 and rebuy it back at 5.
Basically, I'm being an idiot.
Yeah.
Basically,
well,
but
I would never call you an idiot.
Well, the bottom line is, I care more about the reality of the investment opportunity than I do about the fact that I'm losing money hand over fist here.
Yeah.
We won't dwell on this any longer. My next guest is Ben Samaru from WonderFi Technologies. My next guest is Ben Samaru. He's the CEO of WonderFi Technologies, trades on the NADAQ exchange under the symbol WNDR. Ben, welcome back.
Great to be here.
It's great to see you as well, Ben. You've been busy. You just closed a financing, and congratulations on that. Upsized it from what you had intended. But what really interests me is that you had offered you're offering this collaboration with Circle. And what is that all about? Is that representative of sort of the WonderFi business model?
So we're definitely collaborating with a lot of partners in the space that are, kind of have a shared mission with us, which is creating better access to DeFi. And Circle really is a leader in that space. We partnered with them. They're the creator of USDC, which is the world's fastest growing stablecoin. And we saw an opportunity to partner with Circle to help provide better access to people who want to buy and hold USDC, and then people that want to earn interest on USDC.
Okay, and USDC, is that, like, how does that compare to, for example, Bitcoin?
So USDC is a stable coin. So you can think of it like a digital currency that doesn't have the price volatility of something like Bitcoin because it's pegged to the US dollar. It's a really interesting asset for people that are looking to get into crypto or DeFi because, again, it doesn't have that volatility, which is not suitable for every investor. I think a lot of people have different risk tolerances and appetites, but the stable coin is really a great first entry point for people.
Right. So then USDC, does it actually have sort of like a dollar for dollar inventory of US dollars for every USDC coin?
That's exactly right. It's every USDC that is issued is backed by a US dollar that's held in a segregated account and audited. And so that's the whole idea behind a stable coin like USDC.
Unlike, for example, Tether, who has been, under the microscope and has suffered some fines and whatnot from the SEC. So USDC is not the same thing as Tether then?
That's correct. Tether is a different stable coin, the same concept, but for us, it's all about how trusted the partner is that's providing that asset. And that goes for stable coins like USDC and Tether, and then for other assets as well that we provide access to through WonderFi. The big problem with DeFi is that there's so much out there. It's a super fragmented space. It's very complicated. And so having a single point of access where we get to vet and choose which partners and assets we are providing access to, from our perspective, makes accessibility a lot easier and really creates this trusted platform for people to get in and get access to the most secure and trusted and best assets.
Yeah, USDC. So that would, it's almost like the integrity and the trustworthiness of the entire DeFi concept hinges quite heavily on the integrity of the stable coins and the other assets that are available in that universe. So who backs the USDC?
So the concept, Circle was one of the creators of USDC, but the concept really is that it's a trusted party that has transparency around the US dollars that actually back those assets, as we discussed. And so what they do is they have periodic audits by trusted audit firms that can show and represent that those assets, the US dollars, really do exist that are sitting behind those digital assets that are issued. So the audit and the transparency is really what makes this work. And I think it's really exciting because it does provide people with the ability to hold these digital US dollars, which is exciting for people like us in North America. It's even more exciting for people that live in countries where they don't have a stable local currency. And so having digital US dollars that they can get access to without needing a bank to approve them, without needing a credit score, anything like that, they can, for example, download WonderFi. They've got a bank in their hands that provides them access to one of the leading global currencies. So that's really why, that's one of the reasons why people are getting so excited about stablecoins and about DeFi. And one of the other things that we're doing with Circle is finding ways to provide access to earn interest and yield on those stablecoins in US dollars. For those of us in North America, obviously a big problem that we're facing right now is if you take your Canadian dollars or US dollars and deposit them into your bank account, you're going to earn next to nothing in a savings account. And with DeFi, one of the huge value propositions is being able to earn interest on those digital dollars by lending them out directly to other people, peer to peer, without that bank intermediary. And so the interest rates that you're seeing from people deploying their USDC and other stable coins is much, much higher than what you'll see in a traditional savings account at a bank.
Huh. So does that mean the cost of borrowing in USDC is higher to the borrower?
That means not necessarily, because what's happening is the middleman is being cut out from the transaction. So in the traditional setting, I go and deposit my US dollars into a savings account. I get paid back 0.2%, for instance, and the bank is taking that money and they're finding a borrower and they're earning significantly more interest on that asset. And so what DeFi is doing is basically taking that middleman out. So it doesn't necessarily mean that the borrower is paying a higher percentage. It definitely fluctuates, but just the sheer fact of removing that intermediary is making things more efficient and really allowing the people who are actually participating in this transaction to benefit from it more directly.
So then WonderFi is replacing the disintermediated entity and taking a much lesser fee, I guess.
That's correct. And the way to think about it would be this new system of decentralized finance. It's something that has the potential to disrupt finance, which is the largest industry in the world. This is one example with peer-to-peer lending and borrowing, but there's many other examples as well that arguably work better now or will work better in the near future through using this technology to make things better, more efficient, more transparent. And the way that WonderFi is positioned is we're not the same as a bank in the sense that we hold assets for clients or take custody of assets. We're sitting in the middle and basically providing users with a integrated sort of simple approach to access all of these different opportunities within DeFi. So as I mentioned, it's a very fragmented space. And so this is a single point of access that helps people bridge into all of these different solutions. And we're doing it in a very, very cost efficient way, really with the goal of making finance more accessible and more inclusive and lowering the barriers for people.
Sure. Gary Gensler, the CEO of the SEC, indicated yesterday that he was going to be seeking, or rather they were going to be deploying regulations around stablecoins, which he characterized as poker chips, which kind of like, that's a little bit disturbing when, somebody who says they're going to regulate the industry sort of characterizes one of their assets in such a derogatory fashion. So how does that whole attitude and position of the SEC sort of affect your outlook on the future of your business?
So with regulation, whether it's the SEC or the securities regulators here in Canada, elsewhere, with DeFi, we're at a stage that there's still an exploratory phase. And myself, I've been involved in the crypto industry for 5 going on 6 years, and actually come from a legal and regulatory background. And so I've been following the developments and being involved with a lot of the regulation as it's evolved in North America with regards to crypto. And I would say, based on that experience, one of the key takeaways for me is that it's the regulatory process is a gradual one, and so you're going to see statements from the SEC, things coming out of China, all different parts of the world. But at the end of the day, the technology that is behind stablecoins, the technology that's behind Bitcoin, what they do is they provide a better, a simpler, and a more fair way to do a lot of these things, whether it's, Bitcoin, looking at that as a store of value versus gold, or if you look at DeFi as the future of finance, another way to do finance. Whatever way you cut it, the better technology is always going to win, and there's going to be growing pains that comes through resistance from incumbents, that comes from regulation, et cetera. But we've seen so many of these challenges throughout the years, particularly with Bitcoin. But we look at where Bitcoin stands now, and especially at this point in time in the year when it's hitting all-time highs, adoption is growing and growing, and there's a lot more room for growth. So I look at the regulatory landscape and just believe that we're definitely at an exploratory stage still with DeFi, and regulation is good, particularly for stablecoins. Regulation for stablecoins will look like more mandated and sort of strict processes around auditing and transparency, and that's just going to be better for the assets and for the industry as a whole.
Mm. So the thing that really perplexes me about this entire DeFi revolution, if you will, is that you're basically saying that you're here to disrupt the traditional banking power structures that essentially are the most sort of influential participants in the global financial system. And I've got to think, and I'm sure you must agree, that those guys aren't just going to let you guys walk in and take over cutting their grass and stand aside and say, well, boy, we should have done more. So, I'm just curious as to what do you see happening? What do you think the response is going to be from the traditional banking structures that are so powerful, so influential, so wealthy? What is their response going to be if you actually start disintermediating their business, eating their lunch, taking their customers? What's going to happen?
I think the best way to look at this is to look at other industries in the past that have been disrupted. The one that's popping into my head right now is Blockbuster and Netflix. And so I think that's just such a great story, because it really was something that Netflix brought to the table in the early days, and Blockbuster was not ready to move on that. And they did have an opportunity to work together, acquire, consolidate with this disruptor, but they didn't, and we saw what happened there. That example comes to mind. I do think that financial institutions now are more receptive and aware of what's happening with decentralized finance, and a lot of that is due to the success and adoption of Bitcoin over the last 10 years. So my experience is definitely not my experience has definitely been that incumbents are learning, they're wanting to collaborate, they're wanting to find ways to just get more exposure to the space, because they do see the benefits of using technology to make things more efficient within their industry. we've had a lot of conversations with financial institutions in Canada, in the US, and internationally, and they're all looking at this space all in a different way. So I expect there's going to be, what I would expect to see for sure is there's going to be banks that are getting into different types of DeFi products, and then there's going to be collaboration between companies like WonderFi that are focused in the DeFi space and some of these incumbents.
Okay, interesting. So then in this relationship with Circle then, which is kind of foundational to the whole premise, when does that sort of turn into meaningful revenue for WonderFi?
So the partnership with Circle, again, it's really around the access to those assets. I'll mention another partnership, which I think is really important for us, which is with DeFi Pulse. And they may be lesser known sort of in the broader community, but within the DeFi community, DeFi Pulse is a really important name. And what they've done is they've first focused around data in DeFi and being able to aggregate that and provide access to that to people that are interested in learning more about the space. And the second one, which is what's really driven us to partner with them, is they provide the largest index in the DeFi space. So it's called the DeFi Pulse Index, and it's a way for people to buy and get market cap weighted exposure to the top DeFi assets in one click. So what we have learned through a lot of our conversations with users through WonderFi is that you're always going to have people that want access to individual assets, just like you do in the traditional investment world. And you're going to have people that want yield, but you're always going to have those people that just want broad exposure so they can diversify their portfolio and just get that broad access. And our partnership with DeFi Pulse allows us to provide access to that product. And it also allows us to create other unique indexes for WonderFi users that have different risk profiles and also that are better suited for different types of users. So we're really excited about that. I think that will be a significant revenue opportunity for WonderFi as well. But kind of broadly speaking, these types of partnerships really solidify our name in this space and just open up a ton of opportunities for us to provide better access to decentralized finance and to banking to people all over the globe.
Okay. Interesting, Ben. Well, it's certainly a fascinating business. I can't say as I understand it completely, but I'm learning as I go, mostly from individuals like yourself and companies like WonderFi. I'm going to keep following and keep trying to wrap my head around it. So I'll come back to you in the future, and I really appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Thanks, James.
You bet. Bye for now. If you look at the price performance of WonderFi Technologies, so
that looks like a good chart.
Yeah, and they just raised a whole bunch of money at the $1.90.
Back here.
Yeah, went public in September.
Now?
It's about $2.17. They just announced a private placement, $28 million at $1.90 or something, and so it's going to sell off to $1.90. I guarantee it.
Well, but the fact is, as of right now, it's higher than the price.
True.
Which is
$2.37.
Kind of impressive.
Very impressive.
Yeah.
Well, they've got Kevin O'Leary, probably got, 4 or 5 million followers. Mr. Wonderful. They've got Josh Richards. So this guy's going to obviously bring people to the app, the WonderFi app. That's what they're banking on. So I would think that has got the banks nervous. But we'll see how this all shakes out.
Yeah.
So anyways, yeah, there's WonderFi's chart, obviously doing very well. Each bar in this look is a day. Awesome company.
So only been around for, 30 days, 35 days?
45 days, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But so a company to be reckoned with.
Well, Bitcoin's been taking it on the chin a bit.
Well, after touching another new high.
After getting to about 67.
On Monday.
1,000. Was it Monday?
Was it Tuesday?
Or maybe it was last week.
It could have been last week.
Anyway, you know what?
We don't really know what's going on.
But now I think we're down to about 50, in the 58 range.
Yes.
The double top theory
Yes.
is sort of gaining.
Why don't we pull up a chart there, Edward?
We got a big top here at 67, 68?
This week?
Yeah, back there.
Well, just under 70. Well, 68,000. Yeah.
Okay. So that was when the ETF came out in the U.S.
Yes.
And since then,
Here.
taking a little bit of water, but still.
Yeah. Well,
Holy
but so
smokes.
if you bought it down here,
Yeah.
and now you're up 50% practically. So obviously there's going to be some profit taking, which means you have to sell, right? And there's obviously going to be new interest when something touches an all-time high. It's got bringing in all kinds of interest. So that's a good time to sell. So, I mean, I would expect after touching a new high, and as I'm sure you would agree, that a sell-off is bound to be the result at some point.
Well,
because
that last trend there, you look at that trend from there to there, you know,
yeah,
that's been breached now.
yeah.
So
down, you mean the trend is reversed a bit?
yeah. Now the trend is a bit down, but you know that could change again.
Yeah.
I'm not going to stick my neck out on Bitcoin because I've done that too many times, and
Yeah.
you know I feel like a foot's on my throat. You know.
Yeah. All right. So what else were we going to talk about here, Edward? Oh, we were going to talk about NuRAN Technologies
Okay.
and
Voxtur.
Voxtur. So we'll start with NuRAN. So NuRAN is a client. We have 250,000 options with them at $1.70. This press release came out, so we're conflicted. That's my point. We make money if the stock goes up. So look at this. They achieved a loan from a local Cameroon bank for up to 122 sites in Cameroon. Total project size is $3 million. And the bank's going to put up
the money.
throughout. They got to come up with 1/4 of the money. The bank's going to put up 75%
Okay.
of the capex,
Yeah.
or $2.3 million for a 60-month term. In other words, they're going to put up the money for a term that's long enough for these guys to get their ROI to pay off the loan, and away they go. So
The model works. This could propel the stock significantly.
well, that's just it. They have this bank also has operations in the DRC and other African countries where NuRAN has designs on rolling out their service. So this works out. They've obviously got a captive finance partner on the debt side, which is going to be great news for shareholders in the company. Anyways,
Okay.
so that's NuRAN, and that's why we agreed to help them. Now, here's one thing that I'm guaranteeing to everybody watches: we are only going to help companies that have good share structures. I say that in the same breath as I'm about to talk about Voxtur, which has over 400 million shares outstanding. But Voxtur's got a real business. They're on track for a $100 million run rate in 2021. That will be shown in the next couple of quarters.
So when you say like a 2021 run rate, you're saying in December they could be doing 10 million a month. 10 times 12 is 100.
Yeah.
Or 8 million.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is
They did $80 million in the last quarter.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Vauzi, or the run rate was $80 million in the last quarter. Sorry.
Yeah.
So anyways, so this, basically the problem with this company is it has 400 million shares out.
Channeling down right now.
Well, so they get all this churning trade as a result of the incentive structure for order flow that now dominates a lot of these companies' charts. So what happens is when a company starts to move down, the volumes sort of stay consistent, and it's a continuous downward move because the algorithms learn that this company's in a downward trend.
Apparently, the CEO of Hertz came out today and said that the interest that this transaction has caused is greater than he could have imagined.
Well, could you imagine if you're going to land at an airport and say, shit, I got to rent a car. Well, see if they've got any of those Teslas, because that's got to be one of the best things you can rent for pure fun factor.
Yeah.
So it'd be like, yeah, I'm sure
have
people are.
Have you been in one?
Yeah, I've been in a couple. Yeah, my buddy has one.
But you know what? When you think about how quiet they're supposed to be, but there's still road noise. When
Rubber on the road is noisy.
Rubber on the road.
Yeah. Well, when Tesla goes by, it doesn't go by silently like they have you believe.
Well, if it was floating in the air, it would.
Well, that's the next model. Jerry. Yeah. Anyways, that's our show for today. I hope you had fun. The time went by so fast.
Yeah,
we had a great time.
We haven't been drinking. Maybe that's why we're a little more energetic.
Yeah. Anyway, so tune in next week. Send us some email. Send us an email. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.